Warning, this podcast was produced by two men who still think that swearing is both big and clever. As a result, it contains quite a lot of it. Therefore, this podcast is not suitable for children, unless they're really fucking cool children.
Hello everybody, welcome to another Pop Collaborate and Listen music quiz episode during lockdown. We're putting a few of these out now and again while we can, just to keep stuff ticking over while we can't necessarily record as many normal episodes as we can. Hopefully a lot of you have been taking part in our Friday night music quizzes on our Facebook Live page. And this is going to be one from a few weeks back, so if you missed it, you can play along this time. As you may have noticed, it's Krister from the podcast doing this one. Dave is very busy at the minute with work, so I'm doing this one. Lucky you got to listen to me for about 20 minutes. I do want to say thank you, by the way, to a load of people who have very, very generously donated some money. We caved in and we set up a PayPal link where people can chuck us a couple of quid, buy us a virtual pint sort of thing if they've been enjoying the quiz, if they've been enjoying the podcast itself, and genuinely really, really flattered that quite a few people have done so. Thank you very much. The link is up on our website, pclpodcast.com, or you can just basically PayPal our email address, which is pclmusicpodcast@gmail.com. But yeah, thank you so much for that. But look, I'm going to get into the quiz now, so here's the theme tune. I'm back in a second. Okay guys, so a few different rounds for you today. The first round is just kind of a general trivia one. There are going to be 10 questions in this one, and the way we did it was award yourself 2 points for every correct one that you get, which means it's easier if you get a little bit of it right. If you get it half right, you can still have 1 point, that sort of way. But yeah, just general music trivia about songs and bands from the 90s. Question number 1. What was the name of the Mavericks' biggest hit in 1998? So that's question 1. What was the name of the Mavericks' biggest hit in 1998? Number 2. Name the dance act who had a hit in 1998 with Music Sounds Better With You. So that's the dance act who had a hit in 1998 with Music Sounds Better With You. I'm going to be going about this pace, by the way. You can always pause if you need a bit more time to think of some of these, to write them down. You can rewind if you missed it, all that sort of shit. Number 3. What was Take That's final single of the 90s? So that's number 3. What was Take That's final single of the 90s? Number 4. Who had a hit in the 90s with Breakfast at Tiffany's? Who's the band behind Breakfast at Tiffany's? Number 5. Right, the following artists all released singles with the same title in the 90s. And I want you to tell me what is that title. Okay, so the acts I'm talking about are Seal, Eternal, Mark Morrison, and Let Loose. So all of those bands, all of those acts had hits with different songs with the same title in the 90s. What is that title? Seal, Eternal, Mark Morrison, and Let Loose. Question number 6. What was the Foo Fighters' first single called? So what was the first Foo Fighters single? Number 7. Name the guitarist of Suede who left in 1994 and was replaced by Richard Oakes. So So who was the original guitarist in Suede who left in 1984 and was replaced by Richard Oakes? Question number 8. In which year of the 90s did the Beastie Boys, who were headlining Reading Festival, ask The Prodigy not to play Smack My Bitch Up in their second headline set? So that's The Prodigy were playing just before the Beastie Boys, who were headlining that year, and the Beastie Boys requested of them that they don't play Smack My Bitch Up. What year did that happen? Number 9. Everyone remembers Fatboy Slim's remix of it, but who actually released Renegade Master in the 90s? So who was the act who released Renegade Master, which was made very famous in the late 90s by Fatboy Slim's huge Big Beat remix? And number 10. What was George Michael's first single release of the 90s? What was his first single that he released in the 1990s? Alright, that's round 1 all done. Next one, round number 2. This is a slightly different format this week. How this one's going to work is I'm going to give you 2 albums by a band or an artist, and then you need to tell me which album comes next in the sequence. So I'm going to give you 2 in a row, and you need to tell me what the third album is and what band I'm talking about. It'll all become very self-explanatory, I'm sure. First one, I'll give you 10 and Versus, and then you need to tell me what album comes next in that sequence and what band it is that we're talking about. So that's 10 and Versus. Number 2, I'll give you Pablo Honey and The Bends, and then you need to tell me what comes next and what band we're talking about. Number 3, The Black Album and Load. Obviously, these are all albums that came out in the 90s during the band's career, so that might help you a little bit. Number 3 again, The Black Album and Load. What's next and who is it? Number 4, Erotica and Bedtime Stories. Number 5, Graffiti Bridge and Diamonds and Pearls. What's the next one? Number 6, there's definitely a clue in this one. Hopefully you'll at least get the band, if nothing else. First album I'm going to give you is called Backstreet Boys. The second one is called Backstreet's Back. But what is the third album in that sequence? Which album came out next? Number 7, Violator and Songs of Faith and Devotion. Number 8 is a bit trickier, I reckon. The albums I'm going to give you are Rhythm of Love and Let's Get To It. So who am I talking about, and what was the next album released after those ones? Rhythm of Love and Let's Get To It. Number 9, another slightly more obscure one. Liberty and The Wedding Album. So what's next and who are they by? And finally in this round, number 10, Human Touch and Lucky Town would give you what one in the sequence? What's next in the sequence? Slight clue, if you have listened to all of our podcasts, which of course you have, you will definitely have heard us talk about one of those, so you might know who it is at the very least. Alright, there you go, that's round 2 for you. Round number 3, right, this was the metalled up versions of 90s pop hits. You had to identify what the hits were and who did them originally. Right, round 3 is where we get our good friend Chris Green to do metal versions of 90s hits. Chris is an amazing guitarist. He is currently playing with the band Takato, so check out their website and have a listen to them. He's got loads of stuff on the go though as well. You can check out his Facebook page, his YouTube channel. He's got lots of videos on kind of how to improve your guitar playing, how to be even more metal, that sort of stuff. We'll put all the links in our description of this episode. Please do check him out. He's a brilliant guy. But yeah, he's going to do some versions of 90s songs. You've got to identify the band and the artist. Here is the first one. Okay, hopefully you got that. This is number 2. Finally, number 3. Right, there you go. That is round 3. Identify all of those. You can obviously skip back and replay those if you didn't quite catch them the first time round, but hopefully you should have got them. Round number 4. This is a soundtracks round, so I'm going to give you an artist and song from the 90s, and you have to tell me what film soundtrack it appeared on. So number 1 is Maria McKee with Show Me Heaven. You need to tell me what film soundtrack of the 90s that song was on. That's Maria McKee's Show Me Heaven. Number 2 is Celine Dion with My Heart Will Go On. So again, tell me the film that was on the soundtrack for. Number 3, Hot Chocolate, You Sexy Thing. Number 4, Jamiroquai, Deeper Underground. Number 5, Madonna, This Used to Be My Playground. Number 6, and you need to be quite specific on this one, as hopefully you'll understand when you hear it. U2 with Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me. Now, what film soundtrack of the 90s was that featured on? Number 7, Aerosmith, I Don't Want to Miss a Thing. Number 8 is The Cardigans with Love Fool. Number 9 is Coolio with Gangsta's Paradise. What was the film that was featured in? And finally in this round, number 10, John Bon Jovi with Blaze of Glory. What was the film soundtrack? You'd have heard that one on. Right, that is all you've got for round 4. And then the last round, round number 5, this is another kind of general 90s music trivia round, but these are, we consider, tougher questions than the first lot. This is really going to, sort the wheat from the chaff, etc., etc. Let's get into these ones. Number 1. In what year did Metallica release S&M, their album recorded with the San Francisco Symphony Orchestra? So that's in what year did Metallica release S&M, the album that they recorded with the San Francisco Symphony Orchestra? Question number 2. Which ska punk band covered a-ha's Take On Me for the soundtrack of Basketball in 1998? Number 3. Whose first top 40 single of the 90s was How Was It For You, and the last was Just Like Fred Astaire? So which band, the first and last top 40 singles of the 90s were How Was It For You and Just Like Fred Astaire, respectively? Question number 4. Armand Van Helden remixed Professional Widow into a massive dance hit in 1997, but who was the original artist? So who recorded the song Professional Widow that Armand Van Helden remixed and had a massive dance hit in 1997? Okay, question number 5, and you do need to be precise on this one. How many weeks did Everything I Do by Bryan Adams stay at number 1 in the UK charts? So back in 91 when it was there forever, exactly how many weeks was it that Everything I Do stayed at number 1? Number 6. Which early 90s indie band featured Steve Coogan's brother Martin on vocals? So yeah, Steve Coogan, as in Alan Partridge, etc. His brother Martin Coogan was the vocalist with an early 90s indie band. Which one was it? Number 7. Who had hits in the 90s with the singles Geppetto and Feed the Tree? Number 8. Now this is a tricky one. So 3 of the UK's top 10 best-selling albums of all time were released in the 90s. Please name all 3 of them. So, 3 of the UK's biggest selling albums of all time were released in the 90s, name them all, and I will give you a clue that the list that we're looking at, it does account for all the best ofs and greatest hits, etc. So, factor that into your answers, I reckon. Number 9. Who directed the film Singles in 1992, whose seminal soundtrack featured songs by the likes of Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam and Soundgarden? So we're looking for the director of the film Singles, the soundtrack of which it had loads of big grunge bands on. It was a big old album back in 1992. Who was the director of the film Singles? And then finally, number 10. Name the 1993 film whose soundtrack paired up rock acts and hip-hop acts. So the name of the film from 1993, please. The soundtrack had loads of rock bands playing with hip-hop acts. There you go. That is your quiz for this week. We'll be back with the answers in just a second. Alright, here come the answers. Don't forget, by the way, that this quiz is also available as a PDF download from our website. The link is in the description of the podcast. So you can kind of download it and you can forward it to friends. You can play with other people if you want. You can play totally offline if you can't be arsed listening through a whole podcast. And also you can download the picture round and the anagrams round that we had in the quiz for this one, because they don't work so well on a podcast, do they? But you can download them and play along with those as well. But here are your answers. We'll start with round number 1, which was the first trivia, music trivia round. I asked you, number 1, what was the name of the Mavericks' biggest hit in 1998? The answer was, of course, Dance the Night Away. Number 2, name the dance act who had a hit in 1998 with Music Sounds Better With You. That one was Stardust. Number 3, what was Take That's final single of the 90s? It was their cover of the Bee Gees' How Deep Is Your Love. Alright, number 4, who had a hit in the 90s with Breakfast at Tiffany's? You should hopefully have got Deep Blue Something. Number 5, this is one where I was looking for the song title that all these artists shared. So it was Seal, Eternal, Mark Morrison and Let Loose. They all had different hit singles in the 90s with a song called Crazy. All different songs, but they were all called Crazy. Number 6, what was the Foo Fighters' first single called? It was This Is a Call. Number 7, the guitarist of Suede, who left in 1994 to be replaced by Richard Oakes, that was Bernard Butler. The original guitarist of Suede there, Bernard Butler. Number 8, in which year of the 90s did the Beastie Boys, who were headlining Reading, ask the Prodigy, who were the second headline, not to play Smack My Bitch Up? The year was 1998. Number 9, everyone remembers Fatboy Slim's remix, but who actually released Renegade Master in the 90s? It was originally released by Wild Child. I think it was released probably 4 or 5 times throughout that period as well, but it was the Fatboy Slim mix that everyone kind of remembers. The big chart hit with it. And then number 10, what was George Michael's first single release of the 90s? Well, again, if you've listened to our podcast episode on George Michael's Listen Without Prejudice album, hopefully you should have been able to get Praying for Time. Alright, so that's round 1 all done and dusted. Give yourself 2 points for each of those. Go on, why not? Okay, round number 2 was the round where I gave you 2 albums. You had to name the third album in the sequence and the band in question. So number 1, I gave you 10 and Verses. That hopefully should have got you to Pearl Jam, and the next album they released in that sequence was Vitalogy. So it's basically 1 point for Pearl Jam and 1 point for Vitalogy, 2 points total. Question number 2, I said Pablo Honey and the Bends, which should give you Radiohead and OK Computer. Number 3, the Black Album, then Load. Well, we're talking about Metallica, and the next album they put out was Reload. Number 4, I gave you Erotica and Bedtime Stories. So that was Madonna, and the next one was Ray of Light. Number 5, Graffiti Bridge, and then Diamonds and Pearls. They're both by Prince, and the next album was the one that was kind of a symbol. So the Love Symbol album, or the Symbol, whatever you want to call it, that's the one. If you got that, give yourself a point. Number 6, this is the slightly more obvious band one, with the first album called Backstreet Boys, the second one called Backstreet Back. So obviously the band is the Backstreet Boys, but the third album was a trickier one. It's called Millennium. Number 7 is Violator and Songs of Faith and Devotion. The next album in that sequence is Ultra, all albums by Depeche Mode. Number 8, now this was a slightly trickier one, I did say. Rhythm of Love and Let's Get To It. They are both albums in the 90s by Kylie Minogue. And the next album in the sequence after that was a self-titled one, just called Kylie Minogue. So well done if you knew that one. Number 9, Liberty and the Wedding Album. They were followed by an album called Thank You by Duran Duran. Thank You was the covers album, I think, which was god-awful. And then the last one, number 10, A Human Touch and Lucky Town. Those were 2 albums both released on the same day by Bruce Springsteen, and then the next one that he did was The Ghost of Tom Joad. So, like I say, 1 point for the artist, 1 point for the album, and each of those 20 points total. And let's move on to round number 3. First one was Sinead O'Connor's Nothing Compares to You. Second one was R.E.M. with Losing My Religion. And the third one was the B-52s with Love Shack. And before you get all uppity and start tweeting us, we do know that Love Shack was first released in 1989, but it was a bigger hit on its re-release in 1990. That's why we've allowed ourselves to include that. And let's move on to round number 4, which was the soundtrack round. You had to give me the name of the film that these songs were all on the soundtrack for. Question number 1, Maria McKee, Show Me Heaven. That was in the Days of Thunder soundtrack. Number 2, Celine Dion, My Heart Will Go On. That was obviously from Titanic. Number 3, Hot Chocolate, You Sexy Thing. Now, well, we know that's a 70s song. It was heavily featured in the 90s film The Full Monty. That's the one we're looking for in that one. Number 4, Jamiroquai's Deeper Underground was part of the Godzilla soundtrack. Number 5, Madonna, This Used to Be My Playground. Well, that was in A League of Their Own. Number 6, U2, Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me. And I did say that you had to be specific on this one because it was in Batman Forever. And if you just had Batman, you can give yourself like 1 point, but you do need Batman Forever for the full 2 points. Number 7, Aerosmith, Don't Want to Miss a Thing. That was obviously from Armageddon. Number 8, The Cardigans, Love Fool, was in the Romeo and Juliet soundtrack. Number 9, Coolio, Gangsta's Paradise. That was from the film Dangerous Minds. And number 10, the last one, John Bon Jovi's Blaze of Glory. It was from Young Guns 2. And don't forget the 2, because it wasn't featured in the first film, it was in Young Guns 2. Which brings us to the end of round number 4. Okay, and round number 5, the final round, the tougher trivia questions. Let's see how you did on these ones. First question, in what year did Metallica release S&M, their album recorded with the San Francisco Symphony Orchestra? They released that in 1999. Question 2. Which ska punk band covered a-ha's Take On Me for the soundtrack of Basketball in 1998? It was Real Big Fish. Number 3. Whose first top 40 single of the 90s was How Was It For You, and the last was Just Like Fred Astaire? It was James. Number 4. Armand Van Helden remixed Professional Widow into a massive dance hit in 1997, but who was the original artist? It was Tori Amos. Number 5. How many weeks did Everything I Do by Bryan Adams stay at number 1 in the UK charts? And like I say, you do need to be spot on for the full 2 points on this one. It was 16 weeks. Number 6. Which early 90s indie band featured Steve Coogan's brother Martin on vocals? The band was the Mock Turtles, who had their big hit with Can You Dig It? They followed it up with another single, And Then She Smiles, which I actually really like, but then I kind of never heard from them again. Ah, well. Question 7. Who had hits in the 90s with the singles Geppetto and Feed the Tree? That was Belly. Question 8. 3 of the UK's top 10 best-selling albums of all time were released in the 90s. Name all 3. Well done if you got all of these. Point for each, why not? You should have had ABBA Gold, Queen Greatest Hits 2, and Oasis What's the Story, Morning Glory. So 2 best-ofs and 1 original in that one. Number 9, who directed the film Singles in 1992, whose seminal soundtrack featured songs by the likes of Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam and Soundgarden. The director was Cameron Crowe. And then the last one, number 10, name the 1993 film whose soundtrack paired up rock acts with hip-hop acts. That was Judgment Night. So there you go, that is all for this week. Thank you very much for downloading. I hope you've had fun. I hope you played along and scored very well. Why not join us on Friday nights when we do this live? Come along to our Facebook page. Join in with the rest of the teams who play every week. Test out your 90s knowledge and impress us. Like I said at the start, we do now have a kind of a donations button on our website. If you do want to chuck us a couple of pounds, buy us a virtual coffee, that sort of thing, you are more than welcome to. It would be lovely of you to do so, but there is no pressure at all. We're doing this just for fun, for something to do in the middle of lockdown while the world is all a bit strange. We will be back with a proper episode as soon as we can. The next one we're doing is on The Orb, which is going to be a tricky one to talk about, I suspect. But until then, I hope you're all doing really well. Keep in touch. Keep feedback coming in. Keep telling your friends about this, because that's the only marketing we really have, is people telling their mates, and hopefully their mates liking it enough to tell other people. But yeah, we will see you again very soon. Take care, guys. Bye. Thank you for checking out this episode of Pop Collaborate and Listen. It was produced and edited by us, for which we can only apologise. We are on Twitter at PCL Podcast, on Instagram also at PCL Podcast, and facebook.com/PCL Podcast. All of these, plus links to our various Spotify playlists, etc., are on our website, which is PCLpodcast.com. Please feel free to get in contact via any of the social media or on PCLmusicpodcast@gmail.com.